What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt, bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to cover a couple different topics, but all related to electronics, AI, and EV. First up, we're going to check out a story about Toyota as they designed a new EV battery that should solve many of the problems that I'm having with buying an EV vehicle. Next up, we're going to check out Anton Dales, and he talks about the new AI generation and how it's going to start affecting lots of things, including car rentals. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the tsunami that hit the earthquake that hit over in Russia that caused the tsunami advisory that we were pretty much dealing with all of yesterday and then some part of today, and check out what kind of damage it did and see how California reacted. So let's jump straight into it. First off, we're going to talk about Toyota as they do a lot more innovation. And of course, we talk about EV vehicles a lot. We talk about the infrastructure that is going to be needed for EV vehicles to be a mainstay on our roads. Well, one of the big problems I have, and one of the big problems that, of course, EVs is going to have, is that the batteries don't last very long, and you can almost get rid of or even not even think about those long drives that many of us enjoy, because you'd be spending at least 35-45 minutes of that trip charging up your EV vehicle. So Toyota's trying to combat that with coming out with the EV battery that is going to last upwards of 745 miles. So let's check out Motoring USA. I think this young man, his name is Matt. We check him out pretty regularly as he talks about Toyota's new, longer battery.
When it comes to automotive innovation, when it comes to success out of the jaws of failure, out of the jaws of death, some may say, you can't really look much further than Japan. Japan, of course, was absolutely devastated after the Second World War. The country was basically wiped off the map. They literally got nuked twice by the United States. Their cities were absolutely wiped clean. And then obviously after the Second World War, they dusted themselves off, got to work, and built their country into what would eventually become the second largest economy in the world, only behind the US. These days, I believe it's the third largest economy in the world, and a large part of that is their manufacturing industry, which absolutely drove the country to massive success by the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. And still to this day, I believe Toyota are the largest automaker in the world. Maybe not in terms of revenue, but definitely in terms of the amount of cars that they output every single year. People have tried to stop them, tried to slow them down. They've put tariffs on them. I remember here in the UK in the 70s, they put massive tariffs, 100% tariffs I think it was, on all Japanese cars imported into the United.
I bet that'd be a major surprise to the American people that even the UK did put tariffs on Japan, trying to stop their overgrowth into their country. And that was back in the 1970s.
Kingdom. So what did Japan do? They just built their own factories here. There's Toyota factories, Nissan factories, Honda factories here in the UK. And they're massive employers of people right now. There's some of the most successful car manufacturing plants in the country. Our domestic kind of companies just could not compete because they were rubbish. They were rubbish by comparison. They made cars that were not as viable and cars that cost more. So who the hell would want to buy one of them? All for loyalty and all, but I don't want to be out of pocket doing it. That's basically what happened. So Toyota very much, they've been the biggest ones. They've been the ones who have really driven success and innovation. Long before hybrids became so commonplace nowadays, they were making the Prius in the mid-2000s. That was like a decade before they became popular. They were really ahead.
Bro is spitting. I have to say that even back when they first started putting the Prius out, I was working over at a Toyota dealership, and it was the Prius and all of the hybrid systems in there. They were innovative and ahead of everybody's time. And it took, the Hyundais and Kias of the world really to start to really divulge into hybrid vehicles and make them a mainstay. But Toyota was the first ones out there with it, and the first ones that was selling it in bulk. That Prius has done many wonders for Toyota. It's kept them alive.
of the curve. Now, when it comes to electric vehicles, a lot of Japanese automakers, for the longest time, we're not really a fan of them. We talk about EVs a lot here on the channel. They are far from perfect. They still output greenhouse gases, not of course driving around, but of course in the manufacturing processes of them. And also there are things like human rights issues as well. You look at how cobalt is got out of the Congo. Let me just tell you now, that is a very dark, deep rabbit hole that you really are not prepared for if you do go down. It's
wow. That is that is something that we never touch on. Very few people touch on the fact that all of the ecological problems that are being caused and all of the, blood diamondy type situations that are caused by the production or gathering of cobalt for these lithium batteries and all of that. It's just, it's starting to be a situation where the comparison of the manufacturer of the parts that you need for EV vehicles as in comparison to gas power vehicles starting to pretty much even out. We're starting to get away from the fact that we've already talked about how the EV vehicle was better for the environment and better for the air. But then again, you have to start talking about the production of the parts and equipment that these vehicles need to get around and what they're doing to the ecological system. Good points, my friend. Good points.
It's a bumpy old ride for sure, So, not perfect by any means, but Japan, for the most part, not really been too keen on EVs. They thought the future was very much hybrid technology. And I get it, it might be one day. If we get renewable fuels, if we get eco-friendly fuels, hybrids could be the way forward. They could be. Right now, though, EVs very much are the hot topic. They're the things that a lot of manufacturers are making a lot of. And Toyota, they're doing this, man. They're really, really going in on this, right? They have made a 745-mile solid-state battery. Now, for those who are the uninitiated, for those that don't really know too much about electric vehicles, that's a scary distance. That is an incredible range. That is double, over double, in fact, of what even the best electric vehicle really can do. Most EVs nowadays, if you're being really lucky, if you drive very conservatively, you don't drive very fast, and you're just a very efficient driver, you could probably eke out about 300, 350, depending on the electric vehicle, obviously, in terms of the overall mileage. This is double that. This is massive. They have put every automaker, they are very much sweating. And we brought you a story literally today, I literally recorded just before this one, that Japanese automakers, they're really struggling right now, right in the here and now, because of tariffs and things like that. This, though, this could get them out of that rut once again. This could be the next innovation, Japan has had so many innovations when it comes to the automotive sector. Start-stop motors for traffic lights. The hybrids, like I mentioned before. Hydrogen-powered cars as well. I always thought it was Honda, but no, I think Toyota actually, according to this research I've done here, actually made the first hydrogen-powered car.
That's correct. That's correct. I had a friend who worked over at the collision center with me, and his family, he drove it, but it was his family. They had a Toyota Avalon that had the Hydra cell system in it, and it was a cool car, but it seemed fairly normal. The way they had to power it was different, but Toyota was the ones who came out with that. And of course, like he says, Japan has been very much on the innovation tip, and Toyota, of course, with the hybrids that they started a long time ago and pretty much scattered across the world, we understand that they will continue to be one of the top innovators out there. So the idea that they are the ones to come out with a battery that doubles what your standard EV can get as in mileage, it's going to be impressive. And then what's going to happen is they're going to have to share that knowledge, because if it's Japanese, they're going to probably try to get them to share that knowledge.
So they are very innovative. They really, really are. When it comes to something like this, if they can do this, if they can mass produce it, and if anybody can, it's Toyota. This will really, really put them on notice. This will make the West, this will make China even sweat a lot. This will make them very concerned. And like I said, to put it into perspective, I believe the first electric vehicle that Toyota made was in 2022. They've only been doing this for 3 years. And they've potentially got a battery technology, a bit of tech with this that could really revolutionize the EV industry. I've spoken about General Motors, I think it was. They made one. They are in the process of making one. There are some reported electric vehicle batteries that can do over 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. We're yet to see it though. And this is the thing, Toyota, they very much can make this happen very quickly. They're very good at it. So yeah, automakers around the world, beware. The Japanese are coming. Toyota are emerging from the land of the rising sun. What do you make of this, guys? Like I said, this is a big revolution if it does happen. Your thoughts in the comments below about this as always. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, guys, have a fantastic day wherever in the world today, and we'll see you very soon. When it comes...
we've already talked about the fact that Toyota has always been one of those automakers that has tried their best to be ahead of the curve. They've always made great quality products. What can you say? Toyota's always been an automaker that everybody has talked about how great the products were. And when it came to the hybrid, the Prius has pretty much dominated around the world. Dominated. Prius is just out there. Not a fantastically car. The latest Priuses, though, those 2025 Priuses, those look pretty cool. You would probably catch a couple of cool cats in the new Priuses that they have out. So we've always known that Toyota was a good automaker and were making good products. Their trucks are always good. They're always good sellers. I have 3 Toyotas in my set of vehicles. Prius, Highlander, whatever. Toyota makes great vehicles. But this is what even the fact, because we talked about how Lucid has a vehicle that they're coming out that should have roughly 745 miles of range as well. And this is pretty much what is going to be absolutely unequivocally necessary if you are going to really create the infrastructure that EV vehicles will be a mainstay on our roads. Pretty much. To have EV vehicles with that kind of mileage range would help the EV tackle the biggest complaint that most people have about EVs is the distance and the wait time to charge up the vehicles. I always talk about if you do not have a charger at home for your EV vehicle, it's curtains for you, specifically where you live, where you got to go to charge your vehicle up, how long it's going to take, and how much it's going to cost you. You got to pay for that. And if you're not using your home charging system with a Tesla Powerwall and solar panels on your roof, you're not even really saving any money. You're spending the money instead of on gas, you're spending on the electricity bill that's rising because you're charging your vehicle. So what we're really talking about is that this is the goal that EV is going to need to advance themselves to the point where they take over hybrid vehicles. Because hybrids, I think, personally, right now are dominating. The fact that a person can have a vehicle that is an EV vehicle to the point where they're saving gas and, they're taking care of the environment to some extent, and you don't have the problems where you have to charge up your EV vehicle. You can go to the corner gas station, get you some gas, take you about 5 minutes or less, and you can get about your way. And that is the biggest problem with EV vehicles, and the biggest problem that people continue to have with them is their distances, how long it takes to charge them, and the fact that charging them is still costing people a decent amount of money. It's one of those things where, as the duly elected EV hater, this is what you fear, because this is what's going to, put EVs on top to the point where a lot more people are going to continue to buy, because EVs have lost their luster. People have stopped buying EVs. People have gone back to buying gas-powered vehicles. The EV wave has stopped to some degree. And most automakers still haven't seen that or realized that as of yet, because they still keep pumping out EV vehicles, creating more. But now some of them have seen the light and decided that they're going to go back to creating those gas-powered vehicles, because people are going to buy them as well as EV vehicles. And right now, they're buying the gas-powered vehicles more. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the AI revolution. AI is taking over, guys. It was totally inevitable. We knew what was going to happen. We watched the movies that had us afraid of Skynet and the Terminator and those things that the future is expected to hold for us. The robots, all of these entities that are going to take over our jobs and destroy our lives to the point where we're not going to be able to make money. And this is a time that you have to make moves to avoid this because as a person that's been in the automotive industry for quite some time, a lot of the automotive industry jobs are the jobs that these AI systems, robots are going to take away. Specifically in the factories. I mean, I talk so much about losing jobs in factories closing down. Well, eventually, if this keeps up with the robots and the technology, and these factories that hold 300-400 people working, putting vehicles together, it's probably going to be 25 people and 100 robots doing all the work. And we have to, if you're at a certain age, you might not have to really worry about this. If you're over your 50s, it's not to the point where it's going to start affecting your life because you'll probably be out of the workforce by the time this really kicks in. But it's kicking in really fast. And we have to understand that we have to realize that, technology is here to stay. And it's going to pretty much change almost every factor of our lives. So what we're going to do is we're going to check out Anton Daniels, one of my favorite content creators. He's going to talk about the AI system that is taking over rental companies when it comes to you bringing back your vehicle and them collecting any fees for damage to the vehicle, anything like that. I dealt with this recently, so that's why we're doing this. We're going to check this out. We're going to talk about how AI is just pretty much taking over everything these days.
I'm telling you, in real life, women are using AI differently than guys.
When Kelly Huff Rogers picked up her rental car from Hertz in the Atlanta airport, she says she wasn't told the company was using a new AI tool to inspect the car for damages before and after her trip.
We didn't see any damage.
But she says she got this bill shortly after returning the car, an $80 charge for a dime-sized dent and another $115 in processing fees for a total of $195.
In your opinion, did you cause any undue, unexpected damage to this car?
Outside of highway driving and local street driving, we didn't do any other types of driving. So no, I would think that whatever happened would have been considered normal wear and tear.
Complaints like hers are popping up on social media after Hertz began testing automatic inspection scanners at 6 U.S. airports, including Atlanta, Houston, and Newark. Here's how it works. Renters drive through an archway of 360-degree cameras that instantly capture thousands of high-resolution images of every angle of the car, even the undercarriage. Then artificial intelligence compares the images from pickup and drop-off and flags any changes, including minor dents and scuffs.
This is superficial items on the hood of the car where nobody's noticing or detecting.
Adam Foley says Hertz charged him $350 for damages he says he couldn't even see. When he tried to dispute the charges on the app's chat feature, he says he could never get to a human service agent. Foley says he won't pay until he's able to talk to someone at Hertz.
It's an automated tree of options and prompts and all an AI-generated chatbot that just answers and points.
Well, you ain't got to worry about me ever using Hertz. I don't use Hertz anyway. I don't ever care for Hertz. But you don't ever have to worry about me using Hertz. I'm gonna just keep on sticking with Enterprise and National.
Back to the charges, explains the charges.
Hertz said they confirmed billable damage had been detected and added of the 250,000 rentals scanned so far, more than 97% showed no billable damage, and damage incidents are declining at scanner-equipped locations. The company acknowledging it is still in the early stages and listening to customer feedback.
I think they need to realize that these technologies are not infallible. Because it's a computer doesn't mean it doesn't make mistakes.
While Hertz offers a discount to drivers who pay within 24 hours, Huff Rogers says that deal expired while she tried reaching someone at Hertz, so she ended up paying the full bill. UVI, the company behind the technology, said in part, the goal is to surface issues early, reduce confusion, and give customers greater confidence in the process. Avis Budget Group, which includes Zipcar, is also testing automated scanners, and Sixt deployed a version of the tool called CarGate. But the new technology is driving some customers away. Huff Rogers says what should have been a fun family vacation ended on a sour note.
Are you done with Hertz?
I think we are done with Hertz.
We think.
Yeah, I'm straight. You ain't never got to worry about me ever going to Hertz on that type of time.
It's called Study Mode, the newest tool from OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence chatbot that since bursting onto the scene in November 2022,
AI has made cheating incredibly easy. It's a cheater's dream.
has frustrated college professors like Duke University's.
All right, so thank you, Anton. That's what we just wanted to touch on, the Hertz situation, because it's oh man, the way that they create so many ways to get you for pennies on a dollar is just amazing. Now my company started using Hertz a couple years ago. We stopped using Hertz because even back then, not even before they were using these AI systems, they were charging my customers additional fees for just random things. So we just stopped using Hertz altogether. We had a Hertz that was like 2 blocks down from our location. And then a year later, that Hertz location was gone. We could only use, if we wanted to use Hertz, would be the Hertz location at the airport. But of course, we don't use Hertz. We have an Enterprise that's really close to us, and it's fantastic. Enterprise has been always great with us. But I did have this incident happen to me recently. I have a customer. She's an old customer of mine, Irma. I love Irma. She's in her late 80s. And Irma had to have some repairs done at my shop. Well, her insurance company hooked up with a rental vehicle at Enterprise. So she had a rental vehicle, but it wasn't a hybrid vehicle like her vehicle was. So what she decided to do, because she doesn't live locally, when she was back home, what she decided she was going to do, she turned in the vehicle to Enterprise and then told the insurance company to set up with a rental vehicle at the Hertz that was local to her. Fine and dandy, no problem whatsoever. And what I had to do was I had to contact my friend at the local Hertz a couple of cities over, and they decided that to help this young lady out, they were going to come down to my location and pick up her rental vehicle when she dropped it off when she picked up her vehicle when I was done repairing it. Well, that worked out beautifully. No problems whatsoever. But I get a call on Friday from lovely Irma stating that she got a bill from Hertz for $275. And Irma's kind of old. She couldn't really explain what the bill was saying, but she knew that she got a bill from Hertz. So I called the gentleman, David, over at Hertz that I'd been dealing with. He said that Irma had run over something and it had scraped the bottom of her front bumper. And they were charging her to repair that. Now, I was going to venture into a point of, can you send me pictures? How bad is the damage? I'll take care of it. But I couldn't, because what they had done was they had already shipped the vehicle back up to Sterling Heights or wherever she lives in reality. So I couldn't help Irma out. Eventually they charged her for those repairs on that bumper. And I know for a fact they use this AI system. And this is in California. They showed the locations, but I know they have this system here in California as well. Because he told me that the AI system found the damage, because of course it was extremely low on the front bumper, and if you just visually looked at it, you wouldn't have been able to see it. And this is just par for the course. This is just the beginning of collision centers, rental places using AI to advance the amount of money that they can make off of a transaction. I mean, that's exactly what Hertz is doing in this case. They're taking their AI system and using it to make more money off your rental. And you've already signed a contract, your credit card's on file, they can charge you automatically. They're going to charge you and say, because that's what a deposit for. That's why you put a credit card down. That's what a deposit for is for if they find any problems with the vehicle, they find that you ain't gassed it up, or anything like that, they can charge your credit card. And now with this new AI system showing them random dents and dings and all these little things that the naked eye can't see, and they're allowing you to be charged for these things and for them to charge your credit cards, and you've signed paperwork that allows it. So it's just one of those horrible things that AI will continue to help people get over on people to some degree. It will help people to say things, and now mind you, in some of these cases, we can be true that the AI system is going to find things that are correct. But in these type of cases, stuff that you can't see, things that you get normally, because you're going to have standard wear and tear. You drive down a highway in a rental vehicle, you might have a rock pop up from the ground and hit the undercarriage, hit one of the exhaust systems. If you're going to get charged for that, those costs could skyrocket. And standardly, that's just not something that you're charged for. So now that they have these systems and they're able to charge you for it, you're going to suffer. So what can you say? I wouldn't go to Hertz. And if Enterprise get this, I might stop renting cars altogether. All right, my friends, let's keep going. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the earthquake that happened over in Russia that caused the tsunami advisory, or the big tsunami warnings that we were hearing out here in California. This is pretty much something that I had to deal with all yesterday and pretty much all last night and pretty much all day today, with people telling me that there's tsunami warnings and telling me how high the waves are and all these other things, and really lots of people being afraid of this tsunami hitting our coast because, of course, I live in California. I live in the central coast of California. If you looked out my window right there, you could see the water. So this would be something, if it happened and it was massive, it would affect my area. So, and it has. I've learned over the course of today, I have several people tell me about all the tsunamis that have happened here and the flooding that's happened over in Salinas and how it got on the dunes over in Seaside and back in, 2007, which I was just arriving here, so I must have missed it. But yeah, that's what my yesterday and evening and today was all about, this tsunami that was caused by an earthquake over in Russia. So let's check that out real quick, and I'm going to let y'all get up out of here.
Tsunami advisory does remain in effect for parts of California right now and the border region with Oregon. A massive quake in Russia. There have been dozens of aftershocks as well since, measuring a magnitude 6.0, which is in and of itself quite strong. The initial massive quake had people running for cover from Russia to Hawaii. There was some damage, but there are no reports of casualties. This morning's earthquake off the coast of Russia is one of the strongest recorded in the region. Earlier, I spoke with the mayor of Hawaii County, Kimo Alameda, and he told me it was all hands on deck, but thankfully everyone there was prepared.
We've been hit with tsunamis, and in 1960, 1952, 1957. So we grew up hearing stories, and so we're very much prepared. We have tsunami drills, and we totally are engaged, federal, state, county officials. We know what to do. And once we got the all warning sign, we were all hands on deck, and we started implementing our emergency plan.
CBS News correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti joins us now from Malibu, California this morning. Jonathan, good morning again. The worst of this is past, but, plenty of surfers catch waves where you are because of the topography. How risky is it for anyone who wants to get into the water on the West Coast today?
Yeah, the risk continues, but what I think is notable is just how strong this earthquake was. It was the 6th strongest ever recorded. We can now confirm more than 100 aftershocks. And given all of that power, it's incredible there wasn't more damage caused, and that the waves that were projected never arrived in their entirety. Here in Los Angeles, we're talking measuring around half a foot. Hawaii just under 6 feet. For the first time in more than a decade, officials there on the island sounding their sirens. It led to moments of panic where we saw people, thousands of them, scrambling to get to higher ground, moments where bumper-to-bumper traffic, people waiting for hours. Though now we can say there is a sense of relief. The evacuation orders, they have been lifted. The downgrading now of this warning to an advisory is also comforting news. There was some flooding, primarily in the harbors on the islands. Here in Los Angeles, we didn't experience any damage, but the coast is still not literally clear, both for Hawaii and here along the West Coast, especially here in Malibu where we are. Officials are urging those that are going to the beach to stay out of the water. The big concern right now, riptides and dangerous surge, Errol.
All right, Jonathan Vigliotti in Malibu. Thank you, Jonathan.
Prayers for all the people who might have been affected by that. It doesn't seem that there's been any casualties. We don't know about Russia, of course. It was right there at Russia, so I'm assuming that there's probably casualties over in Russia. Probably should. Well, no. I mean, we'll leave that alone for now. But it was an 8.8 magnitude earthquake, and it did barely little damage, which they said it had over 100 aftershocks. So, you know, the bigger problem that we were dealing with here over in California where I live was the emotions of those people who were scared that something really bad was going to happen. Because, you know, even where I am, and this morning when I got up, there was no heavy waves or no crashing or anything like that. You know, it was just that warning. So, you know, I'm not sure, you know, that, I don't know. I'm just glad it wasn't bad. I'm glad that, you know, everybody was prepared for something bad to happen, but something bad did not happen. I'm just glad that everybody's okay. I'm surprised that, like the gentleman said, that it was such a massive earthquake to the point where it was one of the sixth largest earthquake, but, you know, nothing really happened. Here, of course, we don't know what happened over in Russia. I'm assuming there was definitely some destruction that away because it's right there off the coast of Russia. So prayers out to those over in Russia. Let's hope that they're okay and that, you know, they survived this earthquake as well as we did over here on the central coast of California, because it just didn't bode as strong as everybody had planned it to and was so scared it was. You know, people had me almost preparing to evacuate to, you know, go to my other spot, and it just didn't pan out that way. So let's thank God for that. Let's thank God that, you know, it wasn't as bad as everybody thought. Let's put our prayers out for those people over in Russia who were probably directly affected for this, and I hope that everything worked out well for them as well. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. I am Chris Surratt. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Car Concierge Show. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions, and I'm out. Peace.